the Dallas Cowboys and the mess that they've become this year, but not just this year, starting really for the past 30 years as they've been in the spotlight, but not in the limelight when it comes to the winner's circle. The easiest way to describe what they've been, flat out embarrassing. And as we talk about the biggest embarrassments of the football weekend, from college football to the NFL, we have to start with the Cowboys, because between the performance that they put out at Jerry World, their 5th straight home game where they trailed by 20 or more points, an NFL record, a game in which you're playing the Philadelphia Eagles, and we understand that you don't have your starting quarterback in Dak Prescott, who's out for the year now with the hamstring. He's going to have to get that repaired and come back. You bring back Micah Parsons, who gets a couple of sacks in the game. But the problem with a pass rusher, the problem with having an elite pass rusher is it's kind of like having an elite wide receiver and your quarterback can't get the ball to him when you have an elite pass rusher and you don't play with a lead. Sometimes it just doesn't matter. You can't impact the game the way that you would if you're not on a team that actually is playing out in front of people, which is why the Cowboys should have been sellers at the deadline instead of buyers. They went and got Jonathan Mingo. Maybe they should have been trading Micah Parsons, and maybe, just maybe, Micah Parsons is angry about that because something got into that man. He didn't even wait to do this on his podcast. Let's get right to the biggest embarrassment of the weekend for the Cowboys. Not only do you get stumped out by the Eagles at home, and now you're in a place where we're all going to call into question the job security of Mike McCarthy, the ability to build a competitive roster for Jerry Jones, and also just the overall play of your team. Now you have Micah Parsons in the locker room. Here it is, just calling out his head coach.
Coaching aside, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants, but the guys I kind of feel bad for is guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year or on their way out, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
Here's the thing. I have zero problem with what Micah Parsons did and said there, because I also don't know the context in which how Mike McCarthy has been acting around the locker room and the team facilities for the past few weeks, what he said or did with Micah Parsons to make him that mad to open his mouth in a way that he knew was going to create headlines. And also, time after time after time, we've had to sit and we criticize it. We can say it's wrong. I just don't have a problem with it. But sit and listen to coaches call out players in press conferences, quarterbacks point the finger of blame and call for more accountability from wide receivers. Or look at Aaron Rodgers, for instance, who called out Mike Williams for being wrong when he should have been able to hit him on that route, in which later on Mike Williams then gets traded from the Jets to the Steelers. And, oh, by the way, who caught that game-winning touchdown for the Steelers?
Oh, that moon ball.
Yeah.
It was Mike Williams.
I think that was Mike Williams. Look what happens when you join a team that has a culture from the top down that is set, that is secure, that helps instill confidence in its players instead of striking out from beneath their feet. And look what happens when you are in a situation where you have a quarterback who actually believes in your abilities. And you would never see Russell Wilson pulling a play like that. Russell Wilson already surpassing Aaron Rodgers in my legacy rankings these days because of how he's acting in his second act and how terrible Aaron Rodgers has been. But we're going to get to all of them later. We're talking about the embarrassments. We're specifically talking about these Dallas Cowboys. I have zero problem with Micah Parsons saying that and standing on it. It's weird to attack your coach 3 times in one statement. But honestly, he might have did Mike McCarthy a favor. He might have just blessed Mike McCarthy. He really enshrined or really ensured Mike McCarthy's not going to get fired mid-season because, number one, everybody's wasting their breath today and wasting their well-earned time and energy defending Mike McCarthy, all because Micah Parsons went after him in that post-game press conference. Also, it was in a locker room. Also, CCAT, if Jerry Jones makes the decision now to fire Mike McCarthy midseason, what is that going to look like? What is that going to tell us?
That looks like Jerry Jones bowing to the locker room.
Yeah.
Saying he lost the locker room. You know what? Maybe those guys are right. We need to get a new leader in there.
And not just the locker room, but not even your quarterback, to your edge rusher, who I know is one of the best defenders in the league, one of the greatest talents we've seen in a while, a Penn State guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you support him. But you can't now, if you're Jerry Jones and you're going to have any semblance of organizational structure, if you're going to show to the world that America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, are a serious ran organization, which everything we've seen leading up to this point would tell us they're not, you can't fire Mike McCarthy now. Maybe in Micah Parsons letting the emotions of the game and his anger get after him, he hates losing and he's not used to being in this situation. Maybe, just maybe, he threw Mike McCarthy a life raft here by going after him in the post-game press conference, because now not only are we not drawing our swords and attacking the guy who has the main headset on the sideline, now we're all mad at Micah Parsons, who, by the way, who's more important to the future of the Cowboys?
Mike McCarthy I think if Mike McCarthy was doing a better job as head coach, I actually would argue Mike McCarthy. Like, if Mike McCarthy was doing better at his job, I think that Dallas probably wins a couple of games they lost with Dak Prescott. But, yeah, maybe long-term future, you're thinking of Micah Parsons in a Cowboys uniform and not Mike McCarthy on the sideline.
It took you way too long to answer that. Took you way too long to answer that. You know it's Micah Parsons. Why'd you get into this whole alphabet word soup scramble? Like, Mike McCarthy.
Because there's two different things. If Mike McCarthy was doing better at his job, the Cowboys are not below 500. The Cowboys are competing for a division they should be competing for.
There's not many coaches in this league that would be more important to their franchise than Micah Parsons. Like, there are, and that's just the truth of the matter. You can't.
You just said it. An edge rusher can be neutralized, and the importance of his position can be taken out of the game plan if your head coach, your offense, and every other aspect of the football is not doing what they should be doing.
Even in a game in which they weren't leading, though, he had 2 sacks. I mean, he's that level of player to where he's still going to impact the game. His ability to impact them winning is neutralized. He's still going to put up some stats. He's still going to make plays here and there. He's more important than most head coaches in this league. Like, I mean, look around. Look at his division. He's more important than Dan Quinn. He's more important than Mike McCarthy. He's definitely more important than Nick Sirianni. Like, in his own division, he's more important to the Cowboys than those people are to their teams instantly today.
Are you equating important to better at what he does? That's what it sounds like. Because I think I'd rather have the best head coach in the NFL rather than the best edge rusher. I'd rather have the best coach in the NFL right now than the best edge rusher of all time, is what I would say.
Oof.
I'd rather have Andy Reid than have Reggie White. That's what I would have right now.
Well, Lawrence Taylor would like to have a word with you, man.
Him too.
So, you're right. When you go elite versus elite, I'll probably take the head coach over the edge rusher, but we know Mike McCarthy's not elite. We know, as much as people are trying to stand up and defend him because he has that one Super Bowl. By the way, this was just disgusting. Y'all made fools of yourselves on Get Up this morning on ESPN. You made complete and utter fools of yourselves. I know y'all are better than this. Getting so out of your shoes and getting so defensive of Mike McCarthy, of all people, who I'm sure is a good man and everything, but, like, does he need that much defense? Rex Ryan on Get Up ends up cussing on live TV just to defend the code of coaches and defend Mike McCarthy, who, by the way, none of these dudes know exactly how much work Mike McCarthy's doing in that locker room anyways. And then, what was it, Damian Woody?
Yes.
Damian Woody on Get Up, who is a former player here, defending the coach in this situation in a way in which you would think that Mike McCarthy is the godfather to his children.
That's disrespectful what Micah Parsons did to Mike McCarthy in that situation, because I know, again, it's not the results that Mike McCarthy wants, but I know that man is busting his ass every single day to try to go out there and get a win, and to hear one of your star players come out there and say that? Yeah. Come on, man. Like, I can't ride with that.
I can't ride with it either. Let's stop making insinuations. I know Mike McCarthy's doing everything he can. No, you don't. You don't know that. And also, if he is, he needs to do more. There needs to be a different coach in there, because they obviously have been underperforming based on expectations. Y'all can stop trying to defend. And this is why I say Micah Parsons did him a favor. Now y'all are all of a sudden defending the man who's not been good enough at his job. Like, congratulations. You did it, Micah. Hopefully this was on purpose. It was intentional. At the very least, we know it had to be calculated, because Micah's smarter than to get caught up in this. He's done enough media. He does a podcast. Like, whatever it was intentional. The question is, was he trying to defend Mike McCarthy, or does he really want him fired?